Hi everybody, this is Mr. LaFond. I wanted to record this for you as something of an experiment. I want to be able to work through some homework problems with you and for you, and I wanted to just do a brief review of the content of this lesson as well. So this is 1110 normal distributions. So if you looked at the Khan Academy videos, you should have a pretty good idea of what this is, but let me go over this a bit with you too. So as you remember, a normal distribution is a continuous variable. It's not just one specific number that can you evenly chop up into bits, but it's a smooth curve. And that smooth curve is this normal distribution. It's kind of a smooth bell curve, and you can get any number with this. You have a mean, which is right in the middle right here. And then you can go up and down from there with different numbers of standard deviations. And so, for example, we have the +1 right here, the +2, the +3, the -1, -2, and -3. And each of these captures a certain amount of your data, at least theoretically speaking. And in the Khan Academy videos, they probably talked about, well, what percentage of your data should exist within each of these regions. And so, for example, if you go up and down one standard deviation, we're looking at about 34% above and below the mean. If you add those up, you get 68%. And this leads us to this very famous rule in statistics called the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. And those each correspond to a number of standard deviations. So 68 corresponds to ±1 standard deviation. 95 is ±2 standard deviations. And with the 99.7, well, you can expect 99.7% of your data to exist within ±3 standard deviations. Also, if you look in the two tails right at the end, if we look at right here on the right here on the left, you have a little bit left over. If you add up everything, again, ±3 standard deviations, we get 99.7. Well, that means there's 0.3 left over. And if we divide that by 2, that means there's about 0.15% above the +3 and about 0.15% below. Okay, so let's take a look at some of your homework problems. I'll just scroll over to the right here and see how we can apply that. So, with number 15 through 17, we have a mean of 50, standard deviation of 8. I already drew the curve out right here. And there's the mean right in the middle right there. And I kind of sketched in like all the different percentages on the normal curve right here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to label this. So if our mean is at 58, standard deviation is 50, standard deviation is 8. We're going to go up and down 8 for each standard deviation. So one step up is going to be 58 right here, then 64, then 72. And you can subtract as well. So if we go down, go from 50 minus 8 is 42, then 34, and then 26. Okay? And then you can answer some questions on basically what percentage you can expect between certain ranges of data. So let's take a look at number 15. 15 is asking, well, what percent of your data could you expect between 42 and 58? Well, if you look at the diagram we just drew, we see that 42 is one standard deviation below, right here. 58 is one standard deviation above. And so all we really need to do is add up the two probabilities that are associated with that. If you think about the rule we just talked about, well, that's talking about one standard deviation above and below. So for this one, all you need to do is add the 34 for below 1 standard deviation, and the 34 for one above 1 standard deviation, that adds up to 68. Okay. So now, let's look at number 16. Well, that one's saying greater than 34. So what region is that? Basically, that's everything to the right of 34. Okay? And so basically, it's everything except that 2.35 here and that 1.15 there. Now, you could get the answer by adding 13.5 plus 34 plus 34 plus 13.5 and the 2.35 and 0.15. But a quicker way to do it is to remember that all probabilities have to add up to 1. So it would be shorter and easier just to take 1 minus the 2.35 there, and minus the 0.15 that's right next to it there too. And you can just do the math, and that would be at about 97.5. You would get the same answer if you just added up everything to the right as well. The last question asks, well, less than 50. This one, you really don't need to do any math, because if you think about it, 50 is right in the middle. And by definition, half of your data is going to be below it, half of your data will be above it. So we got half below, half above, and we're concerned about less than 50, but the answer would be the same. Greater than 50 or less than 50, the answer is 50%. So the answer to this one right here is 50%. These are all percents. All right. So thank you, everybody. I'm hoping to create some more of these in the future. Let me know what you think, okay? Thanks a lot. Goodbye.